unfastened, to undo a moment, to alter the chain that constrains us. But such dreams are futile. We are stuck, bound to stories that have already been written. We just haven't lived them yet, and when we have, it's too late for them to be changed. The story that follows has been decades in the making. I've pieced together court reports, electronic records, newspaper articles, video recordings, letters, everything I could to make my account as close to the truth as possible. I've relied greatly on the words of the woman who destroyed my son's life and then redeemed it. Harriet Kealty. Harry strikes me as a lonely figure. Perhaps that's what law enforcement does to a person. Maybe daily exposure to the violent, dishonest, and downright murderous makes trust a luxury. Perhaps that's why police officers travel in packs and end up socializing together. She was 31 or 32 when she first met my son. She'd been born and raised in London and spent her childhood living in a 4-bedroom terraced house near Battersea Park. Harry was 20 when her mum died, and her father retired to Melbourne shortly after she joined the police force. He died a few years later. There were a couple of cousins, one on the Isle of Wight, the other in Toronto, and a brace of school friends who met her once a year for drinks, but beyond that, Harry was a loner. She didn't keep a conventional diary, but every few days she would send herself a chatty email chronicling recent events. She kept the emails in a folder called Journal, and as far as I can tell, she never shared them with anyone. The emails read like round robins, and the fact she felt too isolated to share her news with anyone but herself fills me with sadness. I consider myself a voyeur, trawling through her private recollections, but given her role in Elliot's life, this book wouldn't have been possible without the intrusion. If I've wronged her, I hope she will forgive me. I've been in two minds about sharing the trove that has enabled me to tell this story. They always say a magician should never reveal their secrets, and I think the same is true of authors. If I hadn't revealed my access to Harry's emails, court records, and other histories, you might have thought me more imaginative or a better storyteller, but I feel it is important you know I'm honest. I've traded mystery for accuracy. However much this diminishes your perception of me as a storyteller, you know that all I am doing is colouring between the lines of reality. Of all the books I've written, this is the most difficult. Not a page passes that I don't think of my son alone, described by the social workers who came to assess him as troubled, withdrawn, and suspicious. I long to reach out to my boy and hug him. I want to hold Elliot and make the pain go away. I want to tell him how sorry I am for abandoning him, to tell him how much I love him. But I can't, and that eats at me. I'm hollow. I miss him so much. But he's gone. Or rather, it's me. I've gone. I left him. I left him alone in that house. I didn't know what I was doing. I still don't. I can't come to terms with what I've done. That's part of the reason I'm writing this book, to try to make sense of it all. I've spent years telling stories, but this was the only one that really mattered. And I've never had the courage to tell it publicly because it's too raw. It still causes great pain. And all my failings as a father are laid bare. I want to hug my boy. I want to make him feel better, but I can't. And that's on me. Me and no one else. I return to the house every year. I make the trip in summer when the Peak District is at its most beautiful. I travel the familiar track to the cottage we once called home and wander through the untouched memorial to a happy life. I don't think anyone lived here after Elliot left, and the place is damp and imbued with a stillness of abandonment that crushes me every time I cross the threshold. The doors are bowed and flaking, the windows long broken, the frames woodwormed and splintered. The roof has been pockmarked by the relentless march of time, and here and there the cracked slate floor is contoured by the residue of water puddles.